friends, welcome to the Full Perspective. I wanted to try a little something different tonight. I thought we'd kind of hang out with one of my daughters, and she has a friend on FaceTime, and we're just kind of having a panel discussion. And tonight we're going to talk about, what issues they feel like are big in teens' life. And so I just kind of want you to join our conversation. Hey, if you feel like it, hit the subscribe button, give us a thumbs up. It would really help us grow the channel. Stay tuned. What do you guys think is some of the biggest issues that teenagers face today?
Not being serious in serious conversations.
Well, that falls under the level of communication. Do you feel that it's hard to communicate with your family, your parents, with your peers, with someone you might be dating? Is communication usually difficult? Honest communication?
Not really. Pretty easy.
You think so?
I would say depending on the situation.
Depending on the situation. Do you
You
feel
gotta be honest every time.
do you feel that you have the ability to speak up if you're in a situation that you're uncomfortable? If it's whether it's a peer or an adult and something is making you uncomfortable, do you know that you have the ability to speak up and say, I'm not comfortable in this situation?
Yes. Freedom of speech.
Well, I know it's freedom of speech, but a lot of people are hesitant if they feel like, especially if it's a person who is in authority over them.
Probably because they're weak.
No, but that is
Mentally.
someone that has authority over them. It's very difficult for them to assert themselves, usually, because you're fearful of repercussions.
I feel like anxiety plays a big part in that.
See, it seems like I hear a lot of teenagers talk about having a lot of anxiety. What do you think could be a root cause of that?
The pressure of like always feeling the need to be perfect, like having the perfect grades, having the perfect look, always feeling like somebody's watching you and judging you and stuff like that.
So it's almost like there's a bar and you feel like you have to keep. So where does that standard, though? Where are you getting that standard? Are you getting that standard? See, studies show that a lot of that anxiety comes from you trying to hold yourself to a standard that you may see on social media.
Yeah.
And because that's one of the biggest issues for teens is the consumption of social media is way in excess. And it's creating a lot of anxiety.
That's why influencers are called influencers.
Exactly. But the problem that you have, that a lot of teens have, is you have to realize that most of the stuff that you're seeing out there on social media is fake.
Yeah.
There are some adult influencers that I have followed, and the ones that I like, or the honest ones, they will pan their camera, and they may have a beautifully decorated corner that they're sitting and talking in, but then they'll pan their camera and show you they have a normal house. It's just that one corner makes it look incredible.
Yeah.
Because it's not always real. What you see on social media usually is not real. And especially now with AI, they can edit anything and anybody and everything you say.
Mm-hmm.
So, what I think, if you agree with me, we've often tried to tell you guys, like, we want you to do your best. And we know you're capable of really good grades. But if you did your best and your grade's not perfect, we live with it.
Mm-hmm.
So, we try not to put that pressure on you.
Yeah.
And each child is different. I mean, the three of you guys have been totally different when it comes to school and grades and things. So, what do you think is an answer to the anxiety that teens are facing today?
Find somebody you can talk to about it.
Having somebody you can talk to is really big. And that's with any situation. If you have a support system, you have a much greater chance of overcoming things. What else do you think would be helpful?
Telling people what anxiety is.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Helping people understand.
Helping people understand it.
Yeah.
And a lot of times behaviors are misunderstood because, just like recently on the video during the inauguration where Elon Musk was on the video, several things he did, people were trying to make out like it was something bad. Like when he was in the midst of all the chaos and he had his eyes flutter upwards and look away, and they were like, what's wrong with him? And that was just what they call stimming. He's on the autism spectrum, and that when they get overstimulated, they do things. Your sister does that. People have thought that she's like rolling her eyes at them, and she's not. That's just a automatic response to stress.
Yeah.
And then when he did the thing where he was grabbing his chest and like that, they tried to say it was a Nazi salute, and it wasn't. If you listen to him, he was saying, "I give my heart to you." They just, sometimes people express themselves in different ways.
Yeah.
And people sometimes that are very anxious may come across as either, some of them are very timid and quiet and wallflowers, where others are all boisterous and right out in the middle to try to overcompensate. So I agree, trying to help people understand why you behave the way you behave if it's due to anxiety. That's true. But also, don't you think that one thing that also would help with anxiety as a teenager is to find something to be involved in, whether that be a job, a craft, something you're accomplishing. I think when you're sitting and just not doing anything and just taking in so much social media, I think that feeds into your anxiety and your stress. Don't you think it's, if you find something that you enjoy and you're involved in, it helps relieve some of that? And adequate rest.
Yeah, like crocheting is a way.
Crocheting is an excellent thing, and you're a great crocheter. Yeah. But eating a balanced diet and having enough sleep, those are huge too. What else, besides anxiety, what else do you think is something that a lot of teens are dealing with? One thing that I see that bothers me is I don't recall it as much when I was a teenager, but maybe it was there. But the cliquishness of groups where you get these little groups and they're not inclusive. I saw a thing, I actually shared it on my Facebook the other day. You want to be the person who always has room for someone else at their table. Because you may be the difference between someone's life and death. If someone's really struggling and you turn them away and shun them and don't embrace them, that may be the little thing that pushes them over the edge. And you could really make a difference for somebody if you would just include them in your group. And I'm not saying you can't be best friends with everybody. I've always said that. God tells us to love everybody. I don't know that he expects us to be best friends with everybody. But you can be nice, and you can not shun people and make sure they know, like at church or at school, if you see somebody by themselves, say, hey, you want to sit with us? I mean, it's not like you're packing them up and moving them in. You're just being inclusive. And I think that's important.
Yeah.
But I think that's also something that a lot of teenagers struggle with now, too, is like you grew up with older parents, so I think you have an ability to talk to anybody. Yeah. And you're very generous with compliments to people and trying to encourage people. But a lot of teenagers are not like that.
Yeah.
They struggle to talk to people that they don't know. And I'm not saying go out and talk to a bunch of strangers, but you know.
Yeah.
You know. What else do you feel like might be hard in the life of a teenager today?
Bullying.
Is there, that's something I struggle with, because I know that bullying exists, but I think there's been some misunderstanding. And, for lack of a better way to explain this, to me, yes, there are some people who are bullies, but sometimes they are just, I don't know how to say it nicely, they're buttholes. Sometimes people are just jerks, and we get confused and we say they were bullying us when actually they were just being the jerky self. I think you have to, be able to differentiate that. But there are bullies, but sometimes it's just jerks. If someone came to you and told you that they were being bullied, what would be your response?
How? In what ways?
Let them talk to you about it.
Yeah.
And explain what they felt like they were being bullied.
Mm-hmm.
And then you know that, you know, if it's at school, you should go to your counselor or to your principal or to a teacher or to someone and report that. We just read, Landon, you weren't here. I read a story to Gracie that someone had posted about a girl who was drugged and taken off in an Uber from her college, and they had all been out drinking, and they put her out on the side of the road, and nobody would help her. And she ended up, I think she got hit by a car and killed. And the lady said that all of the friends were afraid they were all going to get in trouble. And they didn't call anybody, any adults or authorities. So I think you have to be able to realize, do the right thing. And if you get in trouble, you get in trouble, but do the right thing, because you have to live with that the rest of your life. Anything else y'all can think of that happens in our daily life with being a teenager?
I feel like finding motivation to do things sometimes can be hard.
As far as,
like, just getting up, cleaning stuff,
yeah,
taking care of your needs that need to be met that day.
even as adult, we face that. You think we jump up out of the bed like Miss Sunshine every morning when the alarm goes off?
I mean,
No.
you do.
No, I don't. But I think you also have to know that maturity and responsibilities, and that's, I mean, there's things that just have to be done,
Mm-hmm.
and you do them.
Yeah.
But that's just like working a job. I mean, there's rewards, there's you know, benefits to what you do, and there's consequences to every action, whether it's a positive or a negative action. There's consequences. So, you know, you get up and you get ready and you go work and you do your job well and you come home and then you do that, and then your consequence will be a paycheck.
Yeah.
If you don't get up and you don't go to work half the time and you sleep on the job or don't do your job, the consequence may be that you get fired. There's
no
consequence. You know, for adults, so for kids, if you get up and you get ready and you go to school and you have your homework done and you work on everything you should and you do what you're supposed to do and you don't get in trouble, you're going to get a reward of graduation, good grades, and then graduation and being able to move on with an adult life. And hopefully have a good job one day, you know. So, I mean, you have to look, for every action, there's a reaction.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, it's been interesting just kind of talking about life of a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe we could talk about life of dating teenagers next time. How does that sound?
Hey friends, that was a really interesting conversation I had with my daughter and her friend. And I hope we can do kind of more of those things. I think it's helpful for us as parents to kind of get in the minds of our teenagers and just see what they're thinking and what's going on in that world. But thank you for hanging out with us, and I hope you'll come back and visit again and check for new videos. Thanks a lot. Have a good night.